Welcome back inside our Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center, which is sponsored by Acres, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Acres, solutions for every field. I'm Jessica Cootie, and so pleased to be joined by the newest addition to Amy Williams' coaching staff for Nebraska women's basketball, Julian Assibey. Welcome. How's it going? You settling in?
Oh, thank you, Jessica. Thanks for having me. I'm loving life right now. It's been really good.
Well, I know Coach Williams is very excited about adding you to her staff, but when you're going through this process, what was it about Nebraska that you felt like it would be a good fit for you?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of check boxes about Nebraska. Obviously, Go Big Red it's a national brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you get a call from the head coach of Nebraska, you're like, oh, man, where did I sleep and what did I do right? You know what I mean? And then also, like, I have a lot of connections to Nebraska. Actually, my wife is from here. And so my wife's family is from the North Platte area. So, you know, coming down the road and something that obviously she's spoken about, her family's spoken about, this is, I mean, the fan base is unbelievable. And so to have an opportunity to come be a part of that, I mean, it's pretty close to a no-brainer. And
you had a relationship a little bit with Amy Williams, too, just throughout the process of recruiting and stuff. So what was it about her that you felt like she was a good head coach that you wanted to be working with?
Coach Williams has been successful everywhere she's been. I mean, winning just follows her, you know what I mean? And the way she carries herself, I think one of the things I've always admired about her is that she's had unbelievable assistants and they never left, right? And it's a great testament to leadership, you know what I mean, when people just never want to leave your program. And I think I've almost kind of envied that a little bit of like, man, how awesome it would be to be with somebody for 15 to 12 years. And not feel like you're ready to take the next thing because you just love it so much.
Right.
And so to have an opportunity to come work for somebody like that it's a no-brainer.
She's one of my favorites, and I think I've made that very clear on the show. But, you know, I always like to ask coaches, what drew you to getting into this field? Why did you want to become a coach in the first place?
I love it. Sports is such a huge vehicle. It can teach you so many different things, but, you know, breathing life into people. And that's what we get to do as coaches. You know what I mean? We get to mentor. We get to be there, good, bad, and indifferent, high, lows, and to be able to empower young people. Sports allows you to do that as a coach. You know what I mean? And coaching women's basketball, people ask me all the time, why do you coach women's basketball? And I tell people all the time, the three most important people in my life are my mother, my grandmother, and my wife. You know what I mean? And three strong, independent women that can do whatever they need to do on their own. And if I can help build more strong, independent women, I mean, I think the world would be a better place.
You just came from Florida, so and I know you were at Montana State, and you had quite a background. You were a video coordinator. You got to start there. But coming from the SEC, what did you learn from that stop, just the most recent stop?
I mean, obviously, the SEC is also part of like one of the top conferences in the country. Elite level coaching, elite level players. And so being around there for the last few years and understanding the recruiting landscape and all those different things, how we move and how we continue to attract top end kids, I think is going to be something that I will be able to at least try to bring to Nebraska. And as you know, competing in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten continues to grow, and it's probably the only conference that literally goes across the country. So being able to recruit all these different areas and show them why Big Red Nation is definitely where you need to be, I think will be a pretty cool thing.
So you brought up recruiting, and I believe the word that Amy used to describe you was dynamic recruiter. And it's such a big part of college athletics these days. So at what point did you realize, okay, this is something that I've really got to hone in on, and it became kind of a trademark for you?
No, I mean, recruiting is, if you believe in what you're doing, I mean, you don't ever have to recruit or sell anything. You know what I'm saying? You just talk about it. And I think that's one of the things, you know, when I'm fully in and I committed and I understand our system, our program, who I'm working for, and all that stuff, all I have to do is just talk about it. And I think kids can see that and they can feel that in my passion of where I'm at and where I'm doing. And I think that helps you recruit and helps you build that relationship with the kids on why you are there. You know what I mean? And why I'm here and wearing that big red. So.
And she also said passionate and energy. Where does that come from?
I love what I get to do. I love what I get to do. I mean, somebody in the world thought it was a great idea to pay us as coaches when we literally get to be a part of a kid sport. You know what I'm saying? And I never lose sight of that. You know what I mean? That I literally coach basketball for a living. And so from the day you pick up a basketball, you enjoy just being out there and being a part of it. And so I never try to lose sight of what I get to do for a living and the opportunities that has afforded me, for sure.
So in terms of recruiting, I know relationships and you know, when you believe in it, like you just said, but when you're looking for talent and the caliber of players, what kinds of things stand out to you when you're going to watch these kids play or watching film?
Right. You know, obviously the simple things, dribble, pass, and shoot, right? Can you do the three? Can you do all three? And then how do you affect other people? You know what I mean? How do you affect the people you're playing with? You know what I mean? How do you affect your teammates, your coaches? And you can see that in kids very easily sometimes, and sometimes you can't. But, like, you know, when a kid gets on the floor, the energy they play with, you know, how they move, and how their teammates look at them. When I'm recruiting, that's one of the things I'm always looking at. How do your teammates look at you as either being, because sometimes, especially in women's basketball, you're going to know who the better players are on each team, but how your teammates feel about you and how they play with you can really separate you. And when you get here, because when you get to college level, everyone on your team is good. And so how are your teammates going to be able to gel with you is very important to me.
Love that. Well, what has been your perspective? What have you done about learning about this team that's already in place? A lot of people coming back.
Oh, man, I'm fired up about what we have in our roster. It's been a great 2 weeks. I know we've been finishing up our off-season workouts, and so I've been able to be part of workouts and work there. And, I mean, we got some kids that are hungry. You know what I mean? And I think when you start from there and they're like, they know what they want and they're driven and they're like, man, and we felt like we let something slip away and now we want that, and they're driven, they've been working really hard. It's been impressive to watch how they even attack the weight room right now. It's been really fun being around and seeing that, you know what I mean? And I think obviously Jazz coming back and deciding that she wanted to do that again sets the tone and shows why Nebraska is such a special place, because you have an elite level player like that could have gone and probably played professionally right away and says, nah, I know what we have coming back, and I want to be a part of that. It speaks volumes.
Gives me chills. You were also a big part of bringing in Darian White out of the transfer portal from Montana State. Tell us about her and what you guys like about her.
Oh, a little spitball, energy, athletic, natural point guard, a kid that's just going to play hard on both ends of the floor. You know what I mean? She's a kid that I've known for a long time. In my time at Montana State, I helped recruit her. But great kid, energetic, you know what I mean, can guard 90 feet, you know what I mean? And so it just gives us another athlete on the floor that can also create and also help free up some other kids. You know what I mean? We have such dynamic shooters and some playmakers that I think she just fits right into what we already do. And losing a player like Sam, you know what I mean, and adding somebody like Darian can also fill that void a little bit. So we're excited about what Darian can bring to the table and what she's going to do for our team.
What do experienced guards, point guards like that do for a college basketball team?
It's vital. You know what I mean? Because everybody talks about point guards and how you are an extension of the head coach. You know what I mean? And so having somebody that's played a lot of minutes, and Darian has played a lot of minutes. He's played in the NCAA tournament. You know what I'm saying? So places that we are trying to go again, and having somebody like that to help with the kids that we already have, I mean, it's just vital.
A lot of the guards that I've talked to that have come in that want to be a part of this is also because it's versatile. You might be bringing the ball up, you might shoot, all of that. So how much do you enjoy that part too with Amy's offense and how she runs it, that your guards are doing a little bit of everything?
Yes, and it's a very free-flowing offense, you know what I mean, that allows our kids to be creative. And when you have athletes like we do have and smart kids, you don't have to necessarily like designate here it is and be so structured, right? You know what I mean? We give them a foundation and say, go do what you do best, right? And so I think it's a fun offense to play in when you're a guard, because you can grab the rebound. Like a kid like Darian White, who's only 5'6", but she can jump, so she's gonna grab the rebound and start that break, right? And then we can just run off her and then pass ahead and get things going. I think it allows our kids to be a little more free.
So people might be interested, I am, once you take this job, at what point do you just start diving into film, learning this team? How did you go about because you're talking about Sam, we're losing Sam. I mean, you know so much about this team already and you've been here 2 weeks. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously once that phone call comes and you start that conversation, you dive right into it, right? You wanna know what pieces you have, what you have coming back, and then how are you
as an assistant going to impact that? You know what I mean? What am I going to bring to the table to help? And so, yeah, I started watching film. I called some of the guys that are already here, and, you start finding out some tendencies and who's who and stuff like that. So it's been really cool. And then obviously when you get here too, and I've been here for 2 weeks, I've been able to do some workouts and stuff like that. You get to kind of get a feel for the kids and who they are and their, what they do well. And then, okay, so as a coach, how am I going to highlight that and bring it out of them? So
not just the players, but also the staff. How have you like getting in with this staff?
They've been amazing. They've been amazing. Tandem, Jess, Coach Amy, Jace, and the whole crew, Amanda. They've made this transition so seamless. I actually told them the other day, I'm very thankful, for somebody to come in brand new. And I feel like I've been here like a year already, and it's only been a few, 2 weeks. But they're easy to get along with. Our communication is great. We've been talking nonstop. I think me and Jess were texting, and Tanner were texting like at 10:30 last night. Because we communicate constantly about our recruits and who we're recruiting, and ideas, and just tossing things back and forth, working together with our workouts. Some places you have your position players, and then that's what you hold on to. Here, we're all in the workouts together with each kid, and just kind of bouncing back ideas off each other, and really coaching these kids, which has been really cool.
Well, tell us about the fam. You mentioned your wife's from here, but you got a couple kiddos that you're waiting to finish school.
Yeah, so wife Kaylee, we will be married 16 years in August. And then we have 2 kids, Malachi, who's 12, and Elijah, who's 8. And they're going to be, birthdays are coming up here in June. But wild and crazy kids, they love sports. My little one will literally do whatever dad's doing. And so he's going to want to be at practice every day, and I'm going to have to tell him no. But they can't wait. Actually, my oldest called me, because he always calls me every morning on his way to school. He's like, Dad, I'm wearing my Nebraska shirt to school today.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
they're locked in. They can't wait to get here. School doesn't end to the end of May, so they're still in Florida, and they'll be here soon.
You had mentioned your wife's family had talked to you about, hey, this is what it's like. What did they say about Nebraska?
Oh, obviously me and my wife have been together for a long time, so I've been coming to the state for a long time. And me and my father-in-law will sit there and talk about Nebraska football or talk about basketball or whatever. So obviously I waited a few days before I told them the phone call came, because I wanted to make sure everything went right before I said anything. But they can't wait. My nephew's graduating next week, and they can't. Football season can't come fast enough. Basketball season can't come fast enough, because they might be living here. You know what I mean? And so they're ready. They're excited. So
what was that phone call like to the in-laws when you said, hey, we're coming back?
I called my mother-in-law. You know what I mean? Because, you had to. Actually, my wife called me and said, is it okay if I tell her? And I'm like, yeah, just call her and tell her. And then so we thought, but she's, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that's just like a coming back home situation. My wife has been great, and we've gone all over the country in this sport, and having an opportunity to bring her back home. It's like as a husband and a father, probably one of the greatest things I can do for them, and so I thank Coach Amy every day for this opportunity, because she has no idea what she's done for my family.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, because you kind of have a perspective, how awesome was it to think about the kind of support, the atmosphere? They broke all kinds of attendance records this year. You're talking top 10 in the nation every single year. As a coach of this sport and the growing sport, what does that mean to you?
I get goosebumps thinking about, and I actually watched some of the game when you guys played Iowa here, you know what I mean? And you can feel the energy through the television, you know what I mean? And so I almost tweeted the other day, like, I can't wait for that, you know what I mean? Where my hand signals are gonna have to get a lot better, because it's gonna be so loud, you know what I mean, in Pinnacle. But I love the passion that we have for our sports in this state. You know what I mean? And it's across, my wife's family is all the way across the state, and the way they feel about Big Red Nation and getting people to come to games, you know what I mean? And how you can see the shift in women's basketball and people wanting to support. I can't wait to be a part of that.
I did also want to ask you, too, your perspective on the growth of women's basketball this year. Just the amount of people that watched the Final Four, just the entire NCAA tournament, LSU wins the national championship. You just came from the SEC, but what's been your perspective of that and how women's basketball has really taken off here in the last few years?
And it's funny you asked that question because we were just having that conversation in the office, and I think one of the shifts that women's basketball has made is that we've made it about the players. You know what I mean? Women's basketball has always been about, we've always done the team, the school, the school, right? And when I can relate to the players, it's what draws you in. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the things that women's basketball has done is that we have some dynamic players that we can highlight. You know, a Jazz Shelley, for example, that like people can relate to. We have actually my wife's former teammate lives in town here, so we actually had coffee this morning, and she was talking about how her son loves Jazz Shelley. But like when our youth can connect with the players and they recognize the names and stuff like that, I think it just continues to help build, you know, the game itself. And I think that's one of the things that we've done a really good job of on the women's basketball side, is that now we're starting to connect the dots with the players, and we've got kids that are, you know, engaging, and they want to be, you know, they want to talk on the radio, they want to come and do your shows and stuff like that, and then the community really gets to embrace them, and I think that's why we've had a huge jump in that support.
Wait till you see what the players do after games and all the kids that want their autographs, and they all stick around and sign autographs.
They'll stand there. They'll stand there for an hour just to get an autograph, and I think that's really important, because our kids that are playing now had somebody they looked up to, right? And so when you can have that attachment and that connection with the players, I think it just changes the whole ball game, and you feel a part of something when you have relationships like that. So I'm excited where women's basketball is going, and I think it's going to only go up from here.
Absolutely. Well, what's next? What is the next? I mean, I know it's probably been a whirlwind, but what does the next schedule look like for you?
Well, right now, you know, recruiting, continuing to recruit, and then you know, finding a place to live. You know what I mean? So getting a place to live, and then I gotta go back to Florida and pack the house up and get here as soon as possible. But that's kind of where we're at right now. But I obviously keep recruiting and bringing kids here that Husker Nation is going to be very proud of to come watch and support.
Love that. Appreciate your time. Great to get to chat with you. I know Husker fans are excited to have you here, and we'll look forward to talking to you more.
Thank you so much, Jess.